Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. I am visiting, and I was so very happy to be put on the program. Thank you. So, my name is Dr. Mechie Nkengla, and this is a topic that is very, very important to me, AI literacy. Let me see where we are. Perfect. Next slide, please. In the interest of time, I'm going to just go dively into the subject. This is very conversational. I'm going to keep it at the fundamental level so that everyone can understand the basic and fundamental principles of it. We're going to go over what is AI, the AI that we are interacting currently every day in our lives. I need glasses for this. The risk, which are very important, and Nigeria in Africa, AI, how's that showing up, how we should prepare for that. Next slide, please. By raise of hand, who knows what AI is? Artificial intelligence. But what does that mean? See, that's a great question, and I like always opening with that question because different people have different answers. What does it mean when you say someone is intelligent? Does it mean that this person can tie their shoes? That is a form of intelligence. Does it mean that this person can read? That is a form of intelligence. Does this mean that the person is the smartest person in the world? So there are different levels of intelligence. And artificial intelligence means it's a system or program or heuristic that mimics human intelligence, period. Right? So that means that there are different levels of artificial intelligence. A good example I'd like to give about this is back in my day when I was working, like 25 years ago, 30 years ago, when you came to work, you had a punch card, right? It was a system. So you punch your card, and your card noted this is the time that you came in. And when you left, you had to punch your card. And the card would stamp it the time that you left. And at the end of the week, they will feed the cards into a machine and will say these are the minutes and hours that you work, and you get paid only for the time that you were at work. That is artificial intelligence. Why? Because before that, there was someone whose whole job was to sit and take time, exactly, right? John entered at this time. Eno entered at this time, left at that time. Now we have a machine or a system that is mimicking that person's task. So that's artificial intelligence. Now let's come forward to today's time, today's modernity. There are what they call smart buildings, right? Imagine you're entering a building that's so smart. As you walk in, it recognizes my face, regardless of what kind of hair I have, regardless of if I have a winter jacket or what kind of clothes. It knows that this is Dr. Mechie Nkengla. It automatically calls the elevator to the floor that I have access to, right? Not everyone has access to all the floors, and I can go in only to the floors that I'm allowed to. Right? It automatically sets the temperature based on the weather outside so that it's at the right temperature for the inhabitants. That is also artificial intelligence. So you can see those are good 3 examples here. Human intelligence, you have the stamp card thing, and then you have a really smart building. All of those are artificial intelligence. But we want to think about artificial intelligence in that sense. Anything that just mimics human intelligence. Next slide, please. So these are some examples that we talked about it, right? We talked about the software that learns from examples. But really, a great example will be, let's move on to the next slide. I think this is, okay. There are some other key terms that we hear all the time, right? And we use them interchangeably. Who has heard of machine learning? Like a few people, right? Who has heard of natural language processing? A few people. And computer vision, a handful of people. So there are different terms that people use them and use them interchangeably with AI, but they mean different things. There's a nuance there. Let's start with the most common one, machine learning. Machine learning, just like AI, right, is a system, algorithm, heuristic, computer program that learns. What does it mean for a human to learn? Yes, and there are different levels, right, of learning. Not everyone learns at the same rate, the same type of things with the same sort of efficacy, right? Same thing with machine learning. It's a completely different concept. It only describes the concept of learning. So there is an AI that has machine learning in it, and there's an AI that does not, right? Think of that punch card AI. It does not learn. It just punches. And then think of the building learns, right? Every time I come in, it learns that this is the same person and so adjust, right? So that's a different concept, but it really means the same thing, right? Natural language processing is the topic or the subject around taking the way we communicate text and processing it so that we understand context. So there's a machine learning that's based on natural language. And there's an AI that's using that machine learning that's based on natural process. Another key term I want to talk about is large language models, right? That's the ChatGPT, the Claude, the Gemini that we all knew. That's a subset of artificial intelligence, right? And it really refers to artificial intelligence that uses natural language processing for large amounts of data to get contextualized information so it feels like you're having a conversation with it. Next slide, please. We all know that we're using AI in some fashion, right? Who here has not used AI? All right, so everyone here has used AI, and that is good. Now, the question is, how is AI currently affecting our everyday life? Next slide. We're in the doctors, right? If you're in a medical institution, a highly staffed one that is very technology advanced, you have advanced X-rays and MRI scans, right? That can detect cancer early, even before the doctor reads the scans, right? You have things that flag drug interactions. Right now, you have doctors going into consultation rooms with iPads and notes that they completely dictate. They don't have to take notes. You're talking to the patient, it's already capturing that information directly into the system, right? And aiding the doctor in their diagnostics. We have tools that are active currently in Nigeria employing AI within the medical system, right? For law, I'm sure the lawyers in the room will agree, one of the biggest problems is a lot of information that needs to be consumed, right? For precedent, for cases, to research to find what new laws applies and other new cases they can use as they're engaging with every single project. To consume that large amount of information, to find that large amount of information is a lot of work. AI is extremely valuable there, right? It can consume 1,000-page contracts in no time. It can find legal precedents and summarize everything so it makes it easier for the attorney to do their job. Now, a good case, or maybe unusual case that I've worked with AI in the legal system is a large organization. We had a client that was a Fortune 500 client, and they have tens of thousands of contracts to their vendors and their clients. As part of the contracts, there is a requirement that if something goes wrong, they have to inform the client about this. Take, for example, if there's a cybersecurity event, right? As part of the insurance, you have to inform the clients that we've had such and such occur, and we're taking such and such actions to mitigate it. Each contract is not uniform. It's very specific and customized to that client. There's no way a single department within, now this is not a law firm, right? Usually large organizations, they have legal departments, but they're not large enough to go over tens of thousands of contracts within a very short period of time to indicate, to find out what's going on. And sometimes these contracts are decades old that are still active. And that's why AI came in. So we build an AI solution that will go through and automatically find out key contexts within all contracts, right? And when to execute and highlight them to allow the legal department to be on top of their obligations. Next slide, please. I'm moving fast through the slides. My focus here is so that we have foundational understanding and allow time for great conversations and questions. In accounting and finance, right? Bookkeeping is a big thing. If you're doing, no matter small business, large business, is a skeleton, is a foundation to your business. Now you can automate all of this, right? Whether you're using a solution that already exists or you're doing it manually, you can do this automatically. There's fraud detection, right? That's a common one, even used within banks, right? If you have your mobile app or your banking app, you usually get notified there's something suspicious, some suspicious transaction that we've seen, right? What are you going to do about this? So do you want to verify, do you want to confirm, or do you want us to block it? Things like that happen. That is all AI, right? And the way we use it, it's very much integrated into our society. For businesses, we have AI chatbots, right, that speak to customers 24/7. You go on Instagram, you have businesses, and they have like chatbots that work with you, no matter whether the owner is there or not. You can ask a question, the AI chatbot will respond. And there are interesting examples that come up with this. An interesting case was one happened 2 years ago for a car dealership, where someone started interacting with the AI agent, and basically the AI agent agreed to sell a car for $5 million, a car that was worth $25 million. And then, of course, when they realized, so they said, of course we cannot sell you this brand new car for $5 million. It is, and the market value is $25 million. And then this fellow took the company to court, that the AI agent is a representative of that business. So these are nuances that you want to be careful as you employ AI agents to help you out. Next slide, please. So we can talk about the generation that masters AI and now wins everything, right? If we look at technology in the last 20, 30 years, right? Remember that software engineering, the age of the internet came in the late 90s, for those that are age appropriate. But all of Africa was really dark during that stage, right? We've started to have more technology hubs now in the 2000s, in the 2010s, and now we have a huge tech hub in Lagos, in Kenya, in South Africa, and in Uganda as well. What we don't want to happen is for us to be dragging decades again with AI. By show of hand, who knows how old AI is? How old? Is it 5 years, 10 years? It has been around forever. That's the right answer. The term was coined in the 1950s, 1956, right? In the academic world, it's been used. The problem is what we call traditional AI. But because of how it was created, it was relegated to only those that had the knowledge to be able to interact with it, right? So it was a limited population. What blew things open was generative AI, right? Generative AI is a subset of AI, and LLMs, large language models, are a subset of generative AI. So generative AI took the power of AI and gave it to everyone to use it. So you do not have to be a scientist. You do not have to understand the algorithms. You don't have to understand the mathematics or the software engineering to be able to use it. This created opportunities, and we need to arm ourselves so that we are able to leverage it. I'm not telling everyone to go become a software engineer, no. What I'm saying is that based on what you're doing, you want to see how you can leverage AI to make yourself stand out. I'm going to diverge a little bit from the plan that we have here, but I think it's very important. What powers AI is the data. We've all heard this, at least most of us, I imagine, have heard this phrase, garbage in, garbage out, right? AI is only as good as the data that you use to train it. And the issues that we have, and there are a lot of them, around the data is, first of all, most of this data is Western-type data. Now, that creates problems because as we Africans are using AI, it's basically embedding us in the way Western people talk. And when I say Western, I'm talking primarily American, because most of the solutions are American-based. Our culture is basically removed from how we do business, which is a key foundational representation of us, because it's not captured within the LLMs that exist. Maybe we should create our own, right? That represents us, our style of speaking, our own culture, our personalization. But beyond that, it's full of really bad data. Unfortunately, the perception of most people and the communications that they have of people in Africa and people that look like us and our skin color is also captured within that training, right? And sometimes you can see that in the early stages of LLMs and Gen AI, that bias came out. There was this one example, this was back, I think, in 2012, well, Google released an AI system, and it would look at pictures of people. And if you had a black person with big hair, you would identify that person as a baboon. Right? Again, that is bias that's coming up in the system. And now imagine that this is something that is systemized, right? Within how it treats you, how it provides you access to solutions and welfare in the system. You're systemized, you're programmed to be treated badly, which is horrible and something that we need to keep in mind. Another key thing I want to bring about, we all have apps that we're using, right? And a lot of the times the apps are free. And one key thing you should remember, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. What does that mean? That means that that application is copying data about you. The value in giving you that free solution, software, whatever it is in that app, is because it's learning from you. How much of your data do you want in some app? You always want to sort of think about that before you download an app. Next slide, please. We jumped into the risk, but let's continue. Next slide. We've talked about some biases. Let's talk about hallucination. AI right now, the way it's is developed, is meant to please you. What does this mean? That means that it will tell you what you want to hear. If I ask AI to, this is an exercise I ran a decade ago, I ask about me, maybe when, no, not a decade ago, 6 years ago when he just came out. Tell me about Dr. Mechie Nkengla. And he told me how fabulous I was, how I was the best entrepreneur to ever exist. And I was happy about it. I'm like, beautiful, beautiful lies, but beautiful nonetheless. So we always want to be very cautious when we're using these technologies, right? It would hallucinate and tell us. There's this good example, speaking of law, that an attorney used LLM to write a briefing and present in court. And it turns out that the cases, the precedent that was quoted in that report were fake. The AI made it up to align to exactly what this attorney wanted. So while you're using it, it's a reminder for us to always verify, trust and verify. Think of AI as a tool. We are the ones that are imbued with judgment, with morality, to decide how we want to use it. Right? The AI has no moral compass. It's simply a tool. We talked about privacy for data, right? If you're using an application and you're not paying for it, even if you're paying for it, how many times do we read the terms and conditions when we download something? I don't. Like, who's going to read all through that legal junk, stuff that I'm not going to understand half of it? How much of your information do you want to allow? Now, this is something I read in the news a couple of days ago. Africa as a whole is spending, I think, $30 billion on AI systems from China that are doing surveillance in public spaces. Nigeria, I think, is about $3 billion in terms of what he has spent so far for the surveillance systems. Now, is there something we can do? Is there something we should do? I don't know, but something for us to absolutely be aware of. And job displacement. Thankfully, this is not something that is as prevalent in Africa right now. But I can tell you in the West, in America right now, a lot of people are losing jobs because they're being displaced by AI. And there's this statement that, well, you don't lose jobs to AI. People that lose jobs lose people to people that know AI. And that is partially true. But right now, there are certain things that are just not relevant anymore for someone to hire someone and pay a big salary for. If you can hire someone to just manage it and you have your AI system support it, it's cheaper that way for you as a business. So there's a lot of layoffs that are happening in the last 3 years. And the fear is that it's going to continue happening. And people that are graduating out of school, right, they're like, computer science is not the big thing that it was in the West like it was for the last 2 decades. So there's a change that needs to happen. And we're all working to figure out what that change will be in terms of jobs that all this technology is overpowering. A key piece of information that I didn't bring about is this. If you think about it, for the entire world, Africa uses about 17% of technologies. Of that 17%, we have only about 3% of the population that is able to build those technologies. We use 17%, but we have only 3% of people that are able to build it. More to that, all these technologies rely on minerals. And we hold about 70% of the world's minerals to build the technologies. And you're going, what does this have to do with me? I'm hoping to inspire you to think, to ask questions, to have conversations, so that make us a big owner of the technology change that's occurring now and continues to occur in the future. Next slide, please. So we want to understand that AI does not have a moral compass. It is not a consciousness, right? So it cannot exercise moral judgment. It cannot build genuine human relationships. It cannot understand the culture and spiritual aspects of things. It cannot take responsibility or be held, right, accountable. And there's no real wisdom. It's just artificial learning, right? AI is a tool. It's made by humans. And like all tools, it magnifies what it's used for, good or evil. It can convince more falsehoods, right? Tell me I'm the best person in the world. And in a community built on truth, it's important for us to discern what is correct and what is not correct. We've all heard of the fake news and fake media from videos, right? So Barrister Bayo was talking about recording, right, for will and testament and having held. Now, the important difference is that it's being held by a responsible party because videos can be faked with incredible accuracy, right? So a good example is there was a rise of fraud. I think it's probably the same level. That happened in America where people will call and ransom and act as someone that you know as a kid, right? And like, oh, I'm in this situation, I need you to send me money, something has happened. And it was just some person calling. And you send them money and then quickly call to find out, is everything okay? And your child will say, I have never called you, right? So my mom and most elderlies were afraid of this. And my mom personally, what she would do is, if she got a call or whenever she calls me, she starts speaking in the village language first. Because AI has not advanced to the way where it can understand our traditional language. But if I don't respond correctly, then she's suspicious, right? So that's one of the advantages of the fact that all our data is right now is built in the West, and that's a disadvantage, but at a certain time is also an advantage to us. We're protected. We have a layer of protection. And this quote is very important, right? Proverbs 4:7. Wisdom is the principal thing. AI gives you information faster, but wisdom decides what you want to do with it. So exercise with wisdom as you leverage AI. Next slide. Next slide. So these are the numbers I was talking about, right? So 17% of the world's population is African. The global talent of AI is 3% from Africa. And the investment of AI in Africa is less than 1%. Whether we need to train our youngsters, encourage you to invest your time and knowledge in them so you build more technology using this that benefits us from an African perspective, from an African mindset. Because right now, the people that are empowered that are building these technologies are searching out within Africa. Next, yes.
Translate the investment aspect into funds or capital in the church.
Say that again so everyone can hear you.
But do you understand what I'm saying?
I think so.
Okay. So I'm particularly interested in the investment aspect of it.
Okay.
So how do we translate the investment aspect of AI, bearing in mind that it's still emerging in Africa? So there's so many opportunities that can be explored. Yeah. So how do we translate it into real investment in the church? Yeah.
Okay. I have a solution, a suggestion for that. I'm sure there are multiple solutions. But I think to start off with, we need to have community meetings and talk and share about worries and concerns and just discuss what is possible. My take on it is, in Africa, we're very community-based. We're very community-focused. So it's not very institutional. Like in the West, investment comes from institutions mostly. I think we cannot try to do it the same way it's done in the West. We need to do it the same way we're doing it right now. How do we invest in any good opportunity right now in Africa? Say if I come up, I have a business solution or some business idea, and I want partners. I'm sharing my idea to my community. I want them to invest. What happens? Why can't we do the same thing with an AI? Make it open and, and clear and have this sub-communities where people come up with their ideas and we, as a community, fund them. We cannot rely on institutional investment. We don't have as much institutional investment, one, but also the way everyday people sort of engage in Africa is very different than the way they engage in the West. We need to lean into what makes us us and create the path for ourselves that way. All right, we're out of time. So we're talking about the largest, one of the largest tech hubs in Africa is in Lagos in terms of the investment of AI right now. We have the largest mobile consumer market in Nigeria. Global diaspora, Nigerians in Silicon Valley, they're returning with AI expertise, which is great. So these are all great movements that are happening, right? We want digital native youth, right? In Lagos, everywhere you have tech bros here and there with all some tech stuff that's been funded, usually from foreign investors, right? We need more local solutions to our own local problems. We have data-rich problems. We're talking about agriculture, healthcare, trade, finance. We want solutions from that perspective. And the window is open right now, right? AI adoption is still early, so there's still tons of opportunities that abound. Next slide. This is not as relevant for us right now, I think, because we're still very early stages, emerging stages in Africa in general. So we're not necessarily worried about job replacement, right? So this is not as critical. But there's opportunity certainly for attorneys, for accountants, business, and youths to leverage it to make their lives easy. One other point I would like to add, all AI is not the same. We're looking at ChatGPT, we're looking at Gemini and Claude and DeepSeek and all the other ones. They're not the same. Why do I mean by that? The architecture is fundamentally different in terms of the engineering. What that means is different large language models are architected to work better for different problems. So if you ask ChatGPT is architected to be better at writing, at telling stories. If you're asking for research, there is a different, I cannot think of the name, that I find it better for research purposes and quoting sources. So if you have some general understanding of which LLM is better for which, leverage it that way. Yes, you can get research from ChatGPT, but it's not going to produce you as good of a result as if you use the one that was really good for research. Next slide. So we're wrapping this up. This is my one ask. Find where you land. And I want to challenge you to do something with this. Right? So if you're a doctor, use it to summarize a medical article in plain English for a patient and see how well that it performs. If you're a business owner, use it to write 5 social media posts and post it and see how it does. If you're a student, spend 1 hour using it on work and see how well it does and compares to your handwritten work. I want to encourage you all to get comfortable using it and make it part of your everyday life. Next slide. Thank you, and I would like to take some questions and open for discussions.